All right. Okay. So, Allison, you can hear me and see my screen, correct?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Okay.
Very well.
Very good. So, as Allison mentioned, there are, for those of you who may have been on the call last week, the actual presentation part of this is going to be largely repetitive of last week's presentation. But we have about 200 people on the call right now, so we want to make sure that for any new people who are on the call, we are giving them, exposure to as much information as we can. So we are going to give an overview of the same presentation we gave last week, and then as mentioned before, we are also then going to open up the bulk of the remainder of the time and the bulk of the actual time we have booked today to open Q&A sessions for the API, for any issues you may be running across. Okay, so the purpose of this workshop is we're going to help you determine whether you should use the new data entry user interface on the web at SAM.gov, or if you would be better served to use the Subaward reporting bulk upload API application programming interface. So we're going to help you understand the new Subaward reporting terms in SAM.gov. And we have a couple objectives for the learning. So one is, again, as I mentioned, which option is better for you to use as far as the web data entry or the bulk upload API. Objective two is to determine what tools and skills are required to use that subboard reporting API functionality, because some people, unless you have, either the know-how or an IT shop that would help you with this, it is going to be a challenge to make an interface that will connect the two systems. And objective three is know where to find further systems on subboard reporting in SAM.gov. So something that we wanted to mention up top, so because I know a lot of you are going to have this question as we go through this, is at launch of the SAM.gov subboard reporting functionality, there is no file bulk upload functionality similar to what FSRS had, where you could upload a CSV file. We are exploring a CSV option for SAM.gov in the near future, as in, here's in a couple weeks, probably in the near future. We don't have a specific date as far as any sort of deployment because it is actively being developed and worked on and tested as we speak. As soon as we have more concrete information to provide to you, we promise that you all will be among the first to know. And later on in the presentation, I do have a link to the GSA Interact blog, which we will be posting, which is where we post all of the latest status updates, news, announcements we want to make. So we'll be sure to put up there as well. But we want to make sure that we hear a lot of your requests that have been requesting for a fileable upload functionality. And we will be, having a solution for you in the future. Just to note that the file book upload functionality that we will be implementing, it will be a temporary solution. The intention is to get everybody who needs to do large bulk reporting in SAM to move to these APIs. But we understand that, especially since the timeline of the SAM.gov launch of subboard reporting was moved ahead, or it was probably sooner than a lot of you would have been ready with an interface, or depending on the timeline for your company to actually do the development and testing of an interface, you wouldn't be ready by the time you would potentially need to be doing your monthly reporting, at least for the next couple months, anyways. So again, this is a temporary solution that we're going to be introducing, and as soon as we have additional information, we will let you know as soon as physically possible. Okay, so moving on. What's changed? So starting on March 8th, 2025, GSA IAE, we implemented the subboard reporting functionality in SAM.gov. So what this does is it replaces the existing FSRS.gov subaward as a subcontract or assistant subaward reporting. It affects any users who previously to March 8th were using FSRS.gov to search or report for subaward information and executive compensation data in compliance with the Federal Funding, Accounting, and Transparency Act, which is FFATA, which is what the F in FSRS stood for, FFATA. This requirement for the reporting itself, as in, you need to do your monthly reporting as for your subboard activity, that has not changed. However, the functionality now resides in SAM.gov. So if you were to go to FSRS.gov right now, as I'm sure a lot of you have seen, it redirects you to SAM.gov because that is where you would need to be doing the entry of these reports from now into the foreseeable future. So what are the benefits of this? So by bringing this functionality into SAM.gov, it provides a one-stop shop for prime contractors and prime assistance awardees who report to the federal government. And when we say one-stop shop, we mean not only will you be doing the subboard reporting, but it's also, conveniently the same place where you do your entity registrations. Because in order to be eligible for a contract, you need to have your entity registration completed. It is also the place where you can go and find all of the contract opportunities, as I'm sure a lot of you are used to. It also is where you can find the the excluded list for excluded parties from federal government, since I know some of you maybe keep an eye on that to make sure you're not on that list, among other things that SAM offers to the users. This offers an enhanced user experience. We've spent a lot of time both with design teams as well as reaching out to users to get feedback as far as the design and user experience of the data entry as well as search, to make sure that we've simplified and made the process as streamlined and as easy to use as possible. Because we're bringing this into a more modernized environment, we are that this allows us to have improved security as far as user accounts, data, basically across the board. It also allows us to have better data integrity because we're basing all of this information on more modern technical infrastructure, as well as making sure that everything will always be available. We have backups upon backups, and everything is up to date. The new subboard environment, SAM.gov, allows users the ability to manage reporting for all entities within one SAM.gov account. You no longer need to have, as you may have had in FSRS, multiple. Sometimes I've seen people with tens of or 20s as far as user accounts in FSRS.gov just to report data for your overall entities. Within one SAM.gov account, you can have multiple roles, so you can just have a single account with multiple rows to as many UEIs as you need to report for, and you won't need to hop from one account to the next to make sure that you are reporting your subaward activity. It allows sharing reporting responsibilities across your team. So in FSRS, I'm sure a lot of you are painfully familiar with the concept of the user work list, in which you would go and basically claim the prime award for you and you yourself only to work for, or work and to report subawards against. That is no longer a concept in SAM.gov. As long as you are assigning users roles to be able to enter the data for subaward reports with that entity, anybody with that role at that entity can report. So if someone in your organization goes on vacation, they leave their job, they need to, go away for any sort of reason, or they just disappear off the face of the earth, you can be sure that you can easily have other people working with those records and not have unnecessary reaching out to the help desk to get, something removed from a user's work list. We are reducing the reporting burden by leveraging data across SAM.gov. So as I mentioned before, it houses a lot of functionality across all of the IAE or procurement related activities, or assistance related activities. Because all of this is now being stored in the same system and all these functionalities are located in the same place, it allows us to much more easily leverage data across all the various places that data is collected within SAM.gov. So, for example, you can be sure that all of your entity data from A to Z, from the entity registration to the subaward itself to the prime award, all of that will match across the board, and you will not need to be worrying about data in one place being mismatching with the other, because we are just taking it from the authoritative source where the user entered it in the first place. We have introduced multiple warnings and validation rules that will be sure to help the data quality as far as when you're entering the data for subboard reports. So there was a lot of feedback that we got from users that there was confusion as far as actually reporting the data, or as far as what type of data need to be reported, how often and when. So we've had these warnings and validation rules in place to try to nudge users in the right direction, to say, hey, you may be creating a duplicative report. Go check and see if their existing report still works, and if you just need to update that, as opposed to creating a second report that may be double counting dollars for your organization. So because of this, we've also allowed you to comply with federal regulation easier, because with the data entry is easier. It's available immediately. It immediately gives the USA spending. We give the user the ability to delete a record directly from the user interface, which is something that the legacy FSRS site never did, and previously would take multiple rounds of reaching out to the help desk, going from point A to point B, getting it deleted USA spending, and then getting it deleted elsewhere. You can now do that immediately and have it be reflected within USA spending within 24 hours. We also are allowing search and view reports to be easier as far as uh, it's much more quicker to view data in SAM, and it also will show you data for people outside of just your organization because all of this is public once it gets to USA Spending anyways. And because you can now view data at USA Spending as well as SAM.gov, you can also do any sort of comparison on your end to be sure that there is no data transformation once it goes on its way, because that was another thing that we heard from people was that you were concerned about, making sure that data I entered at SAM is the same as data that is reflected at USA Spending. So now you can even go double check that and view your information and compare the two. Okay, so before we get into some of the more specific subaward stuff, we need to make sure that everybody on the call is familiar with some sort of overarching SAM terminology and concepts. So user accounts. So this is the account that you use to sign into SAM.gov. It is using your login.gov account. So your username and password is created and maintained and updated and stored in login.gov. What you do when you log into SAM.gov is you access your SAM.gov profile. Your SAM.gov profile is created as soon as you log into SAM.gov for the first time. And then there is that pairing between the login.gov account and your SAM.gov profile. And then once you have that created, you can be assigned roles. You can be assigned permissions, and you can do all the things you need to do in SAM. This differs from a system account, which is an account that where the user requests, which specifically allows the connection from an internal system to SAM.gov by the way of that application programming interface (API) in order to regularly push or pull large amounts of data for an entity. So the user account is more for an individual user. So if there's 200 people on this call, we're talking about 200 user accounts if you all are logging into SAM.gov. But let's say we were all one organization, we could have one system account that all of us 200 users could be using to relay data for our collective entity to SAM.gov. It's a very simplified example, but just to give you, numbers perspective, user accounts will be much larger in terms of the total numbers as opposed to system accounts themselves. A system account uses a system account API key to secure the connection between the home system, which would be your internal system, and SAM.gov, which is the federal government system. So that API key, again, is generated by SAM, and it is a way to be sure and from a security perspective that the system that is connecting the request is originating from the specific system account that has been created. The only way to retrieve that is for the administrator for that system account to go into your, system account details and get that API key. So the system account is for the system. Within that system account, there will be an API key generated that you will use during the API, requests and responses to be sure that your system is authorized to do these transmissions between your system and SAM. The application program interface key. So again, this is a unique key provided by the user. This is regardless of an account type, an individual or system account. These are all API keys that we're talking about, as I mentioned before. It ensures that the APIs are coming from a known and trusted and secure government account. One thing I will note that we'll talk about a little bit later is that the individual API key cannot be used to create data via the book upload API. You need that system account and you need that system account API key. Generally speaking, the individual or user API keys for an individual user that can be used to download, for example, public data out of like the entity extracts, that kind of a thing. Okay. Data entry versus API. So one of the things that we mentioned up front is that we're at kind of a crossroads for a lot of the users that may be on the call as far as what makes the most sense for your specific entity or organization. So there are, as of launch, as of March 8th onward, and as I mentioned up front, there will be a temporary file upload solution that will be forthcoming. But as of right now, and when we're thinking long term into the future, because that file upload is a temporary solution that will be going away when enough people have had enough time to move from that type of file upload to an API connection. So we need to give consideration to how many server reports do you create per month, and compare that to how many people you may have at your organization that would be creating these subboard reports. So we have made a lot of strides as far as the data entry of SAM.gov to be sure that the data entry process has been streamlined. It is, in my opinion, and that not just my opinion, but we've gotten a lot of feedback from both users who are in the system as we speak, entering data, as well as users who are testing, as well as the users who are, reviewing and approving the designs as we are designing the thing, that the data entry is much easier to use. It is much quicker to fill out. And because we're able to pre-populate data from a lot of various places and utilize a lot of that leverage a lot of that same data that we have in SAM anyways, there's a lot of information that you previously had to fill out at FSRS that you don't necessarily have to do that anymore as you're going through the data entry process. So for a lot of you who may only have, not, hundreds of records that you need to create in a given reporting period, like if you are sitting here with, I as an organization maybe only need to report less than 50. I need to do 20, 10, however many you need to do based on the amount of subboards that you actually create as an organization. It may make more sense for you to start using the web user interface as opposed to using an API. Where the kind of use case this would make the most sense would be, again, users who don't have hundreds upon hundreds of records to report in a given reporting period. Those users who are also using the bulk file upload option in FSRS, who may not have either the technical know-how or the IT department to help you set up an interface between what may be your internal systems and a SAM, or a third party tool such as, and I'm not endorsing this, but I'm just using it as an example, such as like Postman, who you could use to do an API call from, your internal organization to SAM.gov. So if you are one of those users who may make more sense to just start using the web user interface, you are absolutely welcome to do that. We have help desk representatives who can help you at any time to help you guide through any of those questions. And ideally we should be, but we should be considering future enhancements to make it even easier for you to do that. Now, on the other hand, on the right-hand side of the screen from what you're seeing, if you are an organization that has hundreds upon hundreds of records that you may need to create, and you may not have the manpower or employee footprint to be able to physically manually enter these via the user interface, and you may have the either the technical know-how, or as a larger company, and I'll use them as an example since they were on here last week, so since I think they don't mind. But you're, if a larger company such as like a Northrop Grumman, for example, you already have a lot of the built-in IT help to help your internal systems to be able to connect with SAM.gov. For a lot of those types of users, it would absolutely make sense for you to start working towards building that API interface to make sure that you can connect to SAM.gov. You can, make it to where you're not duplicative manually entering data in a system and then turning around and opening up SAM.gov and manually entering it in SAM.gov. It'll just be a system-to-system connection to make sure that you enter it once, it's provided to SAM.gov, and everything checks out. So this is kind of the overall, and I took a lot of time to get here, but this is kind of the overall question that we want everybody to kind of, really give a clear sort of sober judgment upon your own situation, because we can't speak on your behalf. So we want to make sure that you have a chance to actually make this decision for yourself. Because again, getting an API connection to up and running, it does take work, and it does take work to maintain that connection. And it also means that if at any point down the future, and we have no plans to do this in the short term, mind you, but if at any point down the future, if an update comes to that API, then you need to make sure that you are ready to make those updates on your hand to make sure the API is still in compliance with the latest version of the API. So it's not a one-time thing. So with that in mind, I will move on. So option one, as I mentioned before, that is using the data entry via the SAM.gov user interface. So that's when reporting in SAM.gov using this option, you would have a user, or multiple users at your entity, but a individual user would be creating a report for each subaward as it exists in the system. Key difference between FSRS and SAM is that FSRS, when you were creating a subaward report, you would be creating one record, and you would add as many subawardees as you wanted to for that. That has changed in SAM.gov. We've simplified that to where one record is one subawardee. So you have prime award, and the subaward and the unique subaward that you've created. You no longer are sort of looping around and creating additional subawards for that individual report. That simplifies things in that, there's less chance for duplicative reporting in that a user in FSRS could just open up the previous record and resubmit it and then, not realize that, oh, I'm also submitting data for, potentially 4 or 5 or however many additional subawards may be on that. It is also making it to where you can go into your workspace and go find that specific subaward, and if something changes, you can just open it back up, make the change. Like for instance, if additional funds were obligated, you can go update the obligated amount. Or if, let's say, the place performance information change, you can open up the record, make a change to the place performance, submit it, be all good to go. So by that same thought logic, once you're in there and you have created your subaward reports, we have multiple workspaces that you can go and you can filter for those subaward reports, subaward reports, so you can go very easily find them and make modifications to them and submit them, as opposed to needing to create brand new reports each time. The benefits of this option is obviously as a user interface that has gone through a lot of research and rounds of testing, it's easily shown to the user. It's easily shown off where you can go find your information. You automatically get a list of all your entities prime contracts or grants that are eligible for the FFATA reporting. You can easily get a listing of all of your existing subaward reports. You can very easily then select the prime award and start a new report for it. All of the data for your subcontractors or subawardees executive compensation pulls directly from SAM.gov, assuming it's available, and it's all managed via that regular access to SAM.gov using your user account. We do have a link in the slides to a video. I'm not going to play the entire video, but I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So let me hide this. So this is for data entry for subcontract reporting. This is on the GSA YouTube account, YouTube channel. On the GSA YouTube channel, if you go to the videos, we have a number of subaward report related training on here. So we have things showing you how to do user roles, how to do assistance subawards, how to do the subcontract subawards, how to do, the search. And then we also have just general, similar to the overview I'm giving right now. We have stuff like the previous bulk upload training, general overviews, and then previous subaward trainings, just general trainings, not explicitly related to this API itself. But all of these are posted to the GSA YouTube channel. They can go be viewed right now as we speak. So as I mentioned before, I'm not going to actually go over this or show the entirety of the video because that's almost 10 minutes long. But you can go there, you can look at them. It'll give you specifically a walkthrough of how you create that data using your user account. So that can help you again in your decision as to whether you want to go with option one, where you just use the data entry of the SAM user interface, or you go to option two, which is the subaward reporting bulk upload API, which is the prime reason why I'm sure a lot of you are on the call, and we're finally getting to it. So using the API option of SAM.gov allows you the option of making multiple reports in a single transaction. It is using a JSON reporting format. The entities that issue or modify many reports each month may benefit from setting up the system account to use this new API feature. So again, as I mentioned before, if you are an entity that does hundreds upon hundreds of these reports in any given reporting period, it would probably make sense for you to start looking down this feature as opposed to having your employee base go and report them all manually. So one thing to keep in mind is that using the new API functionality is very different from the file bulk upload option that was in FSRS, as I mentioned before. It is not difficult for anybody off the street to wrap their heads around, oh, I just need to download a CSV or, create an XML file and then just fill it out and then upload it and see what my errors are get and then resubmit the records that failed. So this is, a system-to-system connection. It requires that system account, and it requires you to, connect and fill out requests and responses based on the formatting that we've specified. So this functionality does not have a file upload capacity at all. This is a system-to-system connection. As I mentioned, we are in the process of implementing a temporary file upload option. So those of you who use that are used to using that, you can have a temporary solution as you work towards this API. The API feature on the home system sends an API call to SAM.gov, which includes all of your data, such as the API key, the user who's doing the creation, and all of the data for the actual subword report itself. And then it allows you to take all kinds of actions you would normally do on the screen, such as viewing a record, creating a record, updating a record, deleting a record. Once the user sets up the API and it is working properly, it takes minimal effort each month to report. It's literally, from your system to SAM.gov. If you're entering the data in your system, the API in the background would take the data that you entered and basically shuttle it off to SAM.gov using those API calls to create, update, delete, etc. And then, basically the only maintenance that would have to happen on that end would be if there was any issue with your connection, or as I said before, intermittently there may be an enhancement or a change to that formatting based on, future updates to the system, and you to make sure that you are staying in sync with the latest and greatest formatting for those uh, interface connections. So improvements in SAM.gov subword reporting over the legacy file bulk upload. So as you're submitting these specific call types to be able to create, update, delete, you will immediately get a response back as soon as it is processed by the system, and that will give you the specific error messages that you're seeing that for that specific record. So you can almost in real time or like near real time, you will get that response almost immediately. Be able to get the feedback as to, hey, this data element that you suggested is wrong for this specific reason. Then you can go update it and resubmit it immediately from your system, and then be able to finalize things very quickly. Only the records with errors will fail and have associated error codes return. Anything else automatically gets created. You get in your response, it was this record was successfully created. This other record was failed validation, and then you return the validation error. The security between your system and SAM.gov is much more secure than a file upload. So again, as I mentioned a couple slides ago, we do have the system account that needs to be created, and we also have the system account API key, which further more securely identifies your account as part of these formats for these calls themselves. Okay, so we do have a test environment. It is alpha.sam.gov. So we not only encourage all users to utilize the alpha site to test your environment, but in the process of getting your system account approved in the production SAM environment, we will need to confirm or have your entity, ascertain, or well, not, we will need to have your entity basically confirm with us that you have connected in Alpha SAM and are able to have successful calls before we will fully approve your system account in the production environment. So everybody should be going to alpha.sam.gov, utilizing that environment for your testing and making sure you get to a point where you are able to have successful calls. And then once you're done there, then you are ready to move on to production, create your system account, and then move on. So is it important that you do all of your testing there, and again, doing that will help prevent bad reports and bad data in the production environment, and will also help, your learning curve to do all this in an environment where even if a record gets created, it's not going to be reported upwards to the outside world like USA spending or otherwise. This is all internal test data. You can create to your heart's intent, and then be confident that everything that you're doing here, once you're comfortable with those processes, then you can move on to production SAM and be able to move forward confidently. Okay, the next section. What tools and skills do you need to use the subword reporting API? What do you need to use the API? So in order to use the API feature, we touched on this a little bit, but this is basically putting it on one spot. You need a system or database that contains the subword data that you need to report. So this would be your internal system as an entity. This is not SAM. This is your system. You need a way for that system or file to use a REST API connection with JSON formatting. So again, this is a way for your system to connect to our API to submit that JSON formatted call so we can give you a response. You need a static IP address or potentially a range of IP addresses You will most likely need access to IT support to make sure that all of the above are set up correctly and that the programming and development of your interface is as smooth as possible. So to set up an API, you must write an API call and test at alphasam.gov, as I mentioned. If you have that system or database for your Subaward data, you will most likely require assistance from IT specialists. So I know we're kind of beating a dead horse and repetitive with that, but we just want to make sure that it would be in your best interest to make sure that you have your IT shop involved and your IT development support in here to make sure everything's working correctly. So alpha.sam.gov, again, in order to test that connection, you need both those user and the system account roles. So that feels like forever ago, but again, the user account is the individual user account for your individual user, and the system account is the account for your specific system. So in order to have that done, you need to get the entity reporting data entry or administrator role with subaward permissions for the entity domain for entity reporting. This will ensure that you will have a user that can be assigned both the non-federal system administrator role, but also before an API call will be able to go through, you need to have a user specifically that has that data entry role so that we can confirm that the user that you're providing in that response has the specific roles with the entity that you're submitting. Again, it's making sure that things are secure. So once you have someone with that data entry administrator role, then you need to request a non-federal system administrator role by reaching out to the Federal Service Desk. This non-federal system administrator role is not automatically granted to anyone. The reason for this is because this is a very specific type of activity that would be happening in SAM.gov, and we want to make sure that only the people who are actually intending to go down this route and create an interface using this API will be assigned this role. That being said, for that reason, that's why you need to reach out to FSD. It doesn't need to be complex. You just need to reach out to FSD and say, hey, I, as administrator for this UEI, I need to be assigned a non-federal system administrator role so that we can go through the process of creating a system account so we can get connected with our two systems. Once you have that role, once you've submitted that FSD ticket and it's been approved, and one of our help desk agents or otherwise GSA representatives has assigned someone at your organization that role, then you can sign into SAM.gov. You can locate the system account section of your workspace, select the section title, select the new account button, and enter the required information to submit the application. Here in a couple slides, I'm going to let Latha go through and show you how that actually looks on the actual system end. But as of right now, the only thing you need to really take away from this specific slide is you need someone with both the data entry or administrator, and you also need someone with the non-federal system administrator role to be moving forward. So the next part of creating your system account application, so you'll need that non-federal system account application to be submitted from your SAM.gov workspace. The act of getting this non-federal system administrator role, as I mentioned right here, that will allow you to submit your non-federal system account application from that workspace. So that non-federal system account is for the system managed by an entity or other non-federal organization. Once you have that SAM.gov user account, go to your SAM.gov workspace, and then you can create that new system account. If you don't, obviously you must create one first. So once you have that system account submitted and it is approved, as I mentioned a couple slides ago, you will be assigned that API key for your specific system. This is as you see on the screen, this shows how it looks and how you would go get your API key once you have that approved system account. So once you're logged in, you will see this left-hand navigation. There's a separate section for password and API key. Clicking that will scroll the user down to this API key details here. You'll see in the screenshot, this specifically when I took this screenshot, this example was an account where the existing API key was going to expire in 12 days, and there's another one that is going to expire in 86 days. Something to note is that API keys are generated and are active for 90 days usually. So 15 days ahead of the expiration of an existing API key, the system generates one automatically, and you will get an email saying, "Hey, we've generated a new API key. You should log into to SAM, go find the API key, and rotate the new one in." So it's not an immediate thing. Like I said, that's 15 days prior to the expiration of the existing one. So you have time, a day more than 2 weeks to be able to come in and make sure you just go grab that new API key and put it in your system. So there is that 15-day period where both API keys are active. And once that 15-day expires, then this becomes the active API key. Once this one gets the 15-day mark, likewise, another one will be generated. So again, this is part of that sort of quarterly maintenance that you need to do to make sure that your system can connect to the site. Other requirements for using the API. So again, you need static IP addresses or a range of IP addresses that is coming from your system so that we can be sure to know and whitelist your IP address to be able to connect to SAM and create that data. And you need that REST API connection type. We do have all of the existing specifications for the Subaward bulk upload service API is available at this link here. It is the OpenGSA information. So again, we have ton of information for all this stuff. It includes stuff like what type of account you'd want to create, what type of data is in the accounts. It has specific examples for request parameters as well as output examples. So for example, you can open these here and you can see what the actual output example would look like. So all of that stuff is located here. Let me go exit and go full screen again. Okay. 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 So again, that's on OpenGSA. We do have information here. So as I mentioned before, there is a difference between a personal API key and a system account API key. So some of you who are used to using the system for a number of years may have had a reason to use your personal API key for other things in the site, such as, consuming data either from an extract or if you wanted to consume, exclusions data or other contract opportunities data that was public. So a personal API key is something that is assigned to a user in SAM.gov. Any user can get a personal API key. They just need to go retrieve it. So a non-federal user without any roles in SAM.gov, they can go get an API key. The only issue is that their type of requests are limited to 10 per day. A non-federal user with a role in an entity can generate a personal API key, and their requests are limited to 1,000 requests a day. So all of this differs from a system account API key in that a system account API key is required for the bulk upload API because this account will allow you to create data in SAM as opposed to these other accounts are used to consume data in SAM. So you must go through those steps to create that API key. Once that API key is created, that API key has a daily limit of 10,000 requests per day. This should satisfy virtually every use case that you may have, 10,000 requests per day. But if you are, for some reason, hitting more than 10,000 and you are running into that rate limit, please reach out to the FSD help desk and we can, look at your specific case and determine if there's either ways that you can reduce, duplicative calls, or if it's valid and you actually need to have more than 10,000 requests per day. We can make that change based on a case-by-case basis, but by default, everybody is limited to 10,000 requests in a given day. Okay, so quickly policy review. So again, priorities must report information about new or modified subaward reports eligible under the FAFATA reporting requirements by the end of the following calendar month. Those are three very specific words, following calendar month. So let's say I, as an entity, awarded a subaward today, which is March 21st. I would not be required by the end of March, which would be March 31st. I am required by the end of the following calendar month to report any of these subaward report activities. So if I issued something today, then I have until the end of April, so April 30th, to report all of the information that I did today. And that is a way to make sure that someone isn't, hurt by the process if you came in and did something in the last week of the month and then now you only have 5 days to report your thing. No, you have until the end of the following month. If you want to modify a subboard report, you can go and update the original report with new information, such as I mentioned, for example, before the dollar amounts obligated, or you need to change the pledge performance. In fact, again, it is suggested that you go and update an existing report as opposed to creating a new report, because That can lead to duplicative reporting. The only time you should be reporting a brand new subaward report is if it was actually a brand new agreement between you as a primordy and the subawardee. Even if it's for the same subawardee, the same UEI, if it is a new agreement, then you can, create a new report. But if it is something that is an existing subcontract or subaward that you were just, editing the terms of conditions or adding dollars or changing the place of performance, you should go and find that original subaward report and make updates to make sure that report is the most up-to-date information. You do not need to, and I'm going to emphasize again, as opposed to some people's understanding of how you went into FSRS, you do not need to repetitively every month in, month out, submit the same reports over and over again. You only need to come in and make updates when there's a change to the existing report that you created, or if there is a new report, as in a new subcontract or a new subaward to the primordy and the subawardee. Which leads us to tips for accurate reporting. So multi-year subawards only need one report with the full obligated amount. Again, unless something changes, you don't need to come in and make a change to that existing report. You need to report new and modified subawards. Update those existing reports, as I mentioned before, when you need to make a change. Do not make reports every single month for a subaward. I'll repeat that again. You do not need to make reports every single month for the same subaward. You only need to come in when there's something that actually changes for the specific subaward that you're talking about. You should be reporting obligations and not payments. So let's say you had a subaward that in total was worth $50,000. You do not need to then report, every time you make a payment of $10,000 for the 5 months that you're making payments of $10,000. You only need to report that full $50,000 amount in this example. And then once you're done, once you've reported that, unless the dollar amount changes, that's all you needed to do. And then again, report each subaward only once. Just maintain the existing award. We're trying to make your life as easy as possible, unless it's a brand new subcontract or subaward agreement. You only need to update the existing report as opposed to creating a brand new report. Okay, last few slides before letting Latha give a quick demo of the system account process itself. So the Federal Service Desk supports SAM.gov and subaward reporting, and by proxy also will give you support for all of the system account issues that you may be running into as you go through the process of getting to the end state of having a working API. So FSD is available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern from Monday through Friday. We do have a number of phone numbers that you can call. We do have a live chat, and we also have the create an incident, so you can have a ticket open that you can track from creation to resolution. And any report that any help desk ticket that would be created from this process basically will immediately be escalated to the relevant team that will be able to support you in any issues you're having with the API itself. We do have a wealth of knowledge articles that are available. I'm not going to go through each of these specifically, but these slides will be provided out. You can go to these and you can see all this information available to make sure that you're getting help as far as either data entry, how to search, what happened to FSRS, just general questions, how to do API keys, how to do system accounts, all of that good information. And then lastly, thank you so much for sitting through listening to me talk for a while. I know I've done a lot of speaking, and I know a lot of you have some questions. We're just going to give a quick demo of the system account itself. But before I hand it off, I wanted to point out these two links that we have here on the screen. So one is, let me go full screen as opposed to slideshow. So one is this GSA.gov interact feed that we have here. So what this looks like is here, as I mentioned up top when we first started this conversation 40 minutes ago, this is where we post all of the latest announcements and details as far as how to, system-wide announcements and things that you may be interested in knowing. You can come here, you can create an account, and you can join and you can subscribe to this to where anytime an update comes here, it will be pushed to your feed. You will be notified whenever you can do that information. Also, we have this sam.gov/FSRS. If you were to go to fsrs.gov right now and hit enter, that will automatically take you to this page. So as I mentioned here, what this page has is an accumulation of a ton of really great information as far as if you have any open general questions as far as what happened to FSRS, how you can migrate your accounts, additional links to resources and some of those videos that we talked about earlier, and links to knowledge articles. So again, we would definitely recommend you, if you want to be up to date with the latest information, go to this Interact website and go to that feed, subscribe to it if you want to be automatically generate those notifications for news and updates, or otherwise, if you just want to keep an eye on it and check back periodically, that is where a lot of these announcements will be, and then FSRS as far as those types of connections can go. Okay, so let me stop sharing my screen. There we go. Okay, so I've done a lot of talking. Lothar, are you okay to give a quick demo of the system account itself?
Yes, let me
Okay,
just
good.
share and let's see if everyone can see my screen. Just bear with me for a second. Okay, can you hear me okay and see my screen okay?
Yes, ma'am. Wonderful.
Okay,
Excellent.
thank you.
Very clear.
Okay, so first, I think before I begin the demo, there were a lot of questions on system accounts in general, and why am I not seeing the Subaward permission? What role do I want? Can't I use my user API key? So I thought let's begin this demo with a don'ts first. So first of all, I'm logged into alpha.sam.gov. This is our test site, and this is needed. I mean, we want you to use this successfully in the alpha environment before you establish anything in production. So here, I'm logged in as somebody that does not have a non-federal system account administrator role. Let me go to the roles and show you. So first of all, if you click on your workspace, there is a link here for roles. If you select roles, you will see what roles you are assigned. As you can see, I do not have the non-federal system administrator role here, right? So most of you may have this, what I'm showing right now. So if you go here to reference services, you will still see the system account widget. And if you go into system accounts and if you try to create a new account, you can create a new account, but it will not have the permissions that you need for Subaward reporting. Okay, so this is not the way to go. You need to have the non-federal system administrator role in order for you to see the Subaward permissions. You can still create the system account and establish it, but when you generate this API key, you cannot use this API key with the bulk upload endpoints. And the other thing is, if you go to your account details and if you try to generate a public API key, and if you try to use this with the bulk upload API calls, then that will also not work. So in order for you to have a working API key, you need to have the non-federal system administrator role. Now let me stop sharing and share the other screen where I have that role and I can walk you through the entire process of creating this account. Give me 1 second. Okay, so so here, let me go back to my workspace so I can show you again. So now I'm logged in as someone with the non-federal system administrator role. If you go see my roles, you see you should see this role under your roles, non-federal system administrator under the domain system accounts. This is a must-have if you are trying to establish a system account that needs to connect to the bulk upload APIs. So which UEI do you assign this role to? You would want to assign this to the highest parent level UEI, so that you can create one system account that associated with this parent level, and you can use it for all UEIs under this hierarchy. If you have multiple UEIs that are not within the same hierarchy pattern, then you would need multiple non-federal system administrator roles like you see here in this example. This one is for this UEI, but this is for this UEI. And again, this is our test environment. So that's why we have, so these UEIs may not be what you see in production, and everything we show here is just test data, just getting that out of the way. Again, who can assign this role? In order for you to get this role, you will need to submit an FSD ticket. If you go to fsd.gov and create a support ticket, let them know that you need non-federal system administrator role, and put in whether you need it in the alpha environment, which is our test environment, or if you need it in the production environment. There are other requirements for production environment, but for alpha environment, we should be able to give this role to you as soon as you make that request. Once you have that role and you go to your workspace, again, you will, if you go to reference services, you will see system accounts widget. And when you select there, the system accounts, initially you wouldn't see anything because you don't have any system accounts established yet. If you select new account here, let's go ahead and create a new account. The system account name is something that you would use so you can identify your system account appropriately. And we cannot allow duplicate system account names, so it has to be unique. And the interfacing system name and version is something, is your actual connecting system. You would put your system's name and version. Here this is a test for the demo, so I am using test. Please make sure to also describe what your system does, and some of the details are given here. You can give a brief description of your system, and why you need this account for. If you save and continue, you get to the next page. Here, you need to provide the UEI for which you're creating the system account for. Again, if you have multiple entities that you need to report for, and if those entities are within the same hierarchy, then you would want to get the parent UEI and enter that here. And you would want the parent UEI, to be also associated with your role. So in this case, I have this UEI, and I could, if I select this UEI, any children that are there for this particular UEI, we can also use this system account to input reports for those UEIs, children UEIs. And in the permission, you may see that when I showed the account that did not have the non-fed system account role, you didn't see the Subaward reporting. But once I got that role, and you see this is already selected and by default, and you don't need to do anything here. This is already selected. And these are other APIs that we offer. If you want to use them, you can select these two. But this is what you need for the sub-award reporting. So if you save and continue, so here is where you would list all of your IP addresses that you want to whitelist. We check your IP addresses when the call comes through to SAM. We check the IP addresses from where the call is originating from, and we check that against the list of whitelisted IP addresses here. And only if they match, then we let your connection go through. Otherwise, you will receive error messages related to the IP addresses. Again, you can give a static IP address like here. So you would press an IP address and you click enter. You can enter as many IP addresses as you want, or you can also provide a range of IP addresses. And you can also, so you can provide a range of IP addresses as well here. Again, the physical location is the location where your system is located. And these are all fields that are mandatory. And security official is whoever is your system's ISSO. You can provide their name and their email address. And if you have any additional documentation that you can use to support your system account request, you can attach them here. And you can certify that all the information that you're providing is correct. And when you go save and review, you need to submit the system account. You can review everything you have entered so far, and then you can submit. If you have any additional comment that you want to enter for the approver, you can put that comment here and send, and the approver will see them when they approve the account. So once you submit, you have to confirm that the information that you're providing is correct. And once you submit, you will see that the account is that I just submitted, it has changed to pending approval. So once you come back to your workspace, you should see that the status has changed. Now, when GSA, on the GSA side, when they approve it, you will see that the account has changed to status published. So I'm going to filter my accounts. There is a status filter on the left-hand side. You can use that to filter accounts based on the status. So now when I'm looking at just the published accounts, for this demo purpose, I have two accounts that I want to show that I already that were already approved. So once a security team approves your account, and when you go into the account, you will start seeing this new section, password and API key. When you go here, you will need to enter a new password and you need to confirm that password and save. And it's important that you know what password you're entering here. And this is not your login.gov password or, or any of the other passwords. This is a unique password that you're setting for this particular system account. When you save this, you will see that the API key generation, this button turns green. Before it was disabled. So now when you select here, you can enter the same password that you just set for this account. And when you submit, you will see the API key is shown. If you click on copy, it will copy it to your clipboard. You will see the messages here. And you can also mask it by clicking on this. And after this point of time, anytime you want to view your API key, the process remains the same. You would go into your system account and you would go to the password and API key section. Now you see that at any point of time, if you want to rotate your password, you would come here and you would put your current password in, and then you can put the new password. Passwords are supposed to be rotated every 90 days, and you will receive email notifications when it's due for rotation. And if you by any chance forgot your password, you can select forgot password. You can request an OTP. That will be an OTP that comes to your email. You can enter that OTP here, and when you click submit, I'm going to cancel right now, but when you click submit, it'll allow you to enter a new password and confirm the new password. And at any point of time, if you want to view your API key by default is masked. You can select on your the key button and you can type the password that you have set and click on submit, and you will see the password again and you can copy it to your clipboard. So this is the API key that you need to be using in your system calls for the Subaward reporting. And if you are receiving any unauthorized errors, it could be for multiple reasons. One is you use this API key, but the prime contract or prime grant that you were using, they are associated to a totally different UEI than what you created this system account for. So it's important that the entity that you provide here, the UEI that you provide here is at the highest parent level, and all of the reporting is being done for this hierarchy. If you need multiple system accounts because your entities are all in different hierarchies, then you will need multiple system accounts. Each system account should be associated to the UEI that you want to send the reports for. And the one more thing is, if I go back to the roles, one other thing is in this particular account, in this particular case, you see that the same user has both the data entry and the non-fed system administrator role. But if you wish in your organization, these can be two different individuals also. But regardless, whichever user you are sending in the bulk upload call, that user should have the right UEI and the right role as well. So these are all things that you will need to check if you are getting like any unauthorized errors. It will be good if you do this check whether you have the right role, are you sending the right user, are you, sending in the right hierarchy, and do the prime contracts and grants, do they all fall under the UEIs for which you have roles for? Um, that's all I had, Adam. And we can
Latha?
answer questions. Yeah.
Latha, since this
Yes.
question came in at the same time, does the system send you an alert for that 90-day password update?
Yes.
And can more than one person, who gets notified when that 90-day, just the entity, the EA? Who gets notified, and can you have multiple notifications for that expiration?
Yes, so that's a great question, actually. So, apart from all of this, another thing we recommend is that you have at least two people from your organization that has this non-federal system administrator role. That way, whenever there is a password expiry that's going to happen or an API key needs to be rotated, we send notifications to all the non-federal system account administrators that have a role for that UEI. So if you have two or three people that have the non-federal system administrator role, then the email goes to all three of you. But if you have just one person managing system accounts, only one person has this role, then the email goes to only this one person. And one more thing for the, let me go here and show one more thing. Um, just give me 1 second. So right now, this was the account where we just generated the API key. If you notice here, there is an expiration that shows up. This one, since I just generated it today, right now, it says it expires in 89 days. And what happens is when it is, after 75 days from today, we will auto rotate the API key and you will see another box here that says expires in 89 days, and this one expires in 14 days. So you would automatically see two keys here. So when what you will need to do is when you get that notification that the API, your API key is going to expire, please go and swap it or rotate it. You just have to come here and you copy the new key and you replace your your AP in your API calls, you just put the new key in. And for that 15-day time period, both of these keys will be active. You can, but we recommend that within that 15 days, you switch to the new key. Okay, I hope that answers that question.
It does. Thank you so much, lady.
Can I stop
Adam,
sharing or?
sure. Adam, do you have any other questions? Or
No,
offer?
I think we are good to transition to the Q&A stuff.
All right. Well, let me stop
You want?
recording